Hi, hello, it's Nikki. Welcome to my messy bookshelves. So today I am here with a tag video, the off the top of my head tag, created by the library mouse, Gina. And this is a super fun tag. I was tagged by Graham Matthews. So let's get started. The first question is, what was your favorite picture book as a child? So I have two that come to mind. The first one is Papa, Will You Get the Moon For Me? I cannot remember the author's name, and I know it's a famous author, and I believe it's the same author who wrote The Very Hungry Caterpillar. The other book that comes to mind is Grover Loves to Read. I remember loving that book as a child, and I know I have purchased both of the books that I mentioned for my daughter, and they are on her shelf. Number two, what series did you love as a child? So I loved the Boxcar Children when I was a child. I don't know if I read all of them, but I know that I read many of them, and I loved them very much. I also loved the Super Fudge series. Was that Judy Blume? I cannot remember. I think it was Judy Blume. But I love those two. They were so funny, and I remember rereading those as a child several times. Number three, what was the worst book that you have read or tried to read? So the worst book that I have read, and this is a very unpopular opinion, but the worst one to me that I have read was Wuthering Heights. I could not stand that book. I hated every single character in that book. And I know a lot of people love it, but I stuck it out. I finished it, and I remember being angry that I finished it. So that was the worst book that I read. The worst books that I have tried to read, I have two in mind. Again, I'm sorry that I have multiple answers for each question, but I have thoughts. I recently donated both of these books because they were so terrible and I could not get through either one of them. The first one was For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, and I think that this one was one that was popular on social media and stuff. I remember seeing it all over the place. The cover was pretty, but it was the most disjointed, unorganized, and frankly stupid book that I had ever read or tried to read. I think I made it halfway and I was like, I cannot. The next one was a surprise to me, Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. And I expected to love it because I loved Uprooted by the same author, but Spinning Silver, it was weird, but not in a good way, and the characters there was no depth to any of the characters, and they tried to make it magical. It just didn't work. I could not stand that book. And I made it almost to the end of that book, and I was like, I cannot finish this. There are too many things to read to suffer like that. Number four, what is your favorite reading or book memory? And this is a question I always think, this is a very happy memory of mine. And this is the summer of, I want to say 7th grade. It was middle school, I know that, and it was summer vacation, and we had gotten a summer reading list, and one of the books on there was one that is a favorite of mine to this day. And I remember my mom gave me a couple of dollars, and I walked to a secondhand bookshop, and they had it in stock. And it was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. And this one, I remember taking it home, and it was summertime, and it was storming, and I remember I was supposed to go to a friend's house for a sleepover, and I sat down reading it. There was a thunderstorm. My mom was making one of my favorite meals, and I asked her if she would if she would ground me so that I could stay home and not go to my friend's house because I was so caught up in this book. And I remember I spent the rest of the night reading Thunderstorm, Mom making my favorite dish, and to this day it is literally my favorite book memory. Number 5, a book that you loved as a movie. I think I would say Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I think that they did that one so well. And of course, honorable mentions, Harry Potter. I enjoyed the movies. Of course, I love the books better. And the Lord of the Rings movies. I love those movies, love the books better. But I think Stardust, I love the movie as much as I love the books, or the book. Number 6, a book you wish they would make into a movie. Again, I have 2 answers for this. The first one is the Book of Speculation by Erica Swyler. And this one follows a family where the women in the family for the past several generations have worked as circus mermaids, and all of them have drowned at some on the same day, years apart. And the main character has a sister who has run off to join the circus, and that date is approaching, and there is a mystery, and I don't know, I love this book, and we're talking about, you know, mermaids and stuff, so I think that this would make a great movie. The second one is The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. And this one I read last year, and I loved it. So it follows a family from Ecuador, and the matriarch of the family, everybody suspects that she has some sort of magical abilities or something magical about her, and she never leaves her home. The family is estranged, and they all come to the house to receive their inheritance from the matriarch of this family, and she turns into a tree. And years later, we see the different relatives going about their lives, and grandma's abilities, magical abilities, have manifested in different ways to the different family members. And someone is hunting down the members of this family. So the remaining family members gather to go and discover the origin of their grandmother's abilities, essentially. And I love this because it kind of reminded me a little bit of my own family, where, you know, it is a Hispanic family, and then you have a matriarch who everyone revolves around, and that kind of reminds me a little bit of my grandmother. So I would love to see this in a movie. Number 7, a book character you would like as a friend. I would have to say all the characters in Fellowship of the Ring. I especially think that I would love to hang out with Aragorn and Samwise Gamgee. I just love those characters so much. I would spend any amount of time with any of those characters from the Fellowship. A place that number 8, a place you would want to visit because of a book you read. I think that would be, so I of course want to visit the UK sometime. London has always been a place that I've wanted to visit and that I have not been able to visit, and I read a lot of books set in London. But I also think Edinburgh. I recently read a series called Why Mummy Drinks, and part of it is set there, and I would love to visit. Number 9, a nonfiction book that you'd recommend. I have one here. My Life in France by Julia Child. So this book, I did not expect to love this book as much as I did, and it was written by her, you know, telling about how she moved to France with her husband after the war, and how she did not know how to cook, and she fell in love with the French cuisine, and she decided that she wanted to learn how to cook. So she enrolled at the culinary school in Paris, I think. Was it in Paris? I think so. But she details her journey to become a good cook, and she goes on to essentially create one of the most famous cookbooks in history. I loved this book. There's pictures in here, photos of her life with her husband, and as you're reading, they insert some of these photos, and I just loved it so much. Yeah. And number 10, if you could hang out with an author all day, who would you pick and why? Okay, I'm gonna go basic on this one, and I've already mentioned this author's characters. I would hang out with J.R.R. Tolkien, because I would love to pick his brain all day long about his world. I would like to find out more behind the stories that he created, and there are some characters, like I want to know where the female Ents went. I need to know this. But that is my answer. I could literally probably hang out with him as long as he would hang out with me. But that is it for the off the top of my head tag. And for this tag, I am going to tag Pat at Book Chat with Pat and Kim at Middle of the Book March. I would love to see your answers. But if you've stuck around to the end of this video, I thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.